What's wrong with you people?
Welcome to Not Another Baptist Podcast. My name is Matt Hensley, the pastor of Plymouth Park Baptist Church, and I am joined by Kyle, non-alcoholic beerman, the fan of the third place Texas Rangers, who might need to be thinking about changing their name to the Texas Injured List. But anyway, it's good to see you, dude, and happy Independence Day. We're recording
Happy Independence Day to you
July
as well.
4th. Yeah, happy Independence Day. So you doing all right?
Yeah, doing well. I still have all my fingers as we record this, so that's good. Actually, to be completely honest, I don't even have like a single firework in my house.
True. Well, I'll tell you what. Your bald head is a firework right now.
Oh, that's right.
Rather than any firework I've seen. Well done. Did you bick it?
Last couple of days or so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess yours grows a little slower because, receding hairline and all.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, so our family was talking the other day. We don't really do any we don't have any traditions for the 4th. Do you have anything that you do like every year for your family?
I stand outside and I salute to the moon and I say, America, home of the free, land of the brave, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's
land
right.
of the free, home of the brave. That's it.
So last night we went to
we don't really do. So here's the thing. I believe it's very inconsiderate of the founding fathers to have signed the Declaration on July 2nd, 1776. That's ridiculous. Good talk. It's hot.
On July 2nd. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it is. That's what I said. I'm going to Google it. You want me to prove it?
Okay.
When was the Declaration of Independence signed?
Independence.
August 2nd, 1776. Wait.
I know, not August 2nd.
No, it was August 2nd, 1776.
August 2nd. Okay.
Let's see. I swore there's something to do. Here we go. All right, here we go. The Continental Congress declared American independence on July 2nd, even though the final wording, okay, had not yet been approved. The approval came 2 days later, which is why American independence is celebrated on July 4th. So here I stand, corrected by AI on Google.
You were not accurate to go back and.
I was not accurate.
But by the way, I know you don't like to read other than comic books and such. But
I don't even read those,
man. David McCullough's book 1776, highly recommend it. About the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the start of just kind of everything that happens leading up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and then the rest of the year. 1776, great book, highly recommend.
Well, anyway, it was finally signed on August 2nd, 1776, and my point still stands. They should have done it in the fall or the spring. It's too hot for this, man. I can't.
Have you seen the England is absolutely losing its mind over a coming heat wave, and it's going to be
75 or something.
Yes, it's in the upper 70s.
Goodness.
Well, no, that's why they lost, because they couldn't handle the they couldn't handle the American heat.
Couldn't handle the heat, man. We were bringing the heat. We weren't. God was. Right. But anyway, well, it's good to see you. I hope you do keep your all of your fingers and toes on this 4th of July, and back up, Terry. But we are
this morning. That never gets old, by the way.
We are going to
put it in reverse.
We are going to back up to June 28th, 2022, a date that is irrelevant for many, but Aaron Earls, who wrote an article on LifeWayResearch.com, actually it's research.lifeway.com, about basically the opinions of pastors when it comes to patriotic services. Now, Pastor, you've been given a gift this year. That is July 4th, landing in the middle of the week. Yeah. Well, right after the middle of the week. And so maybe you got in a little hot water because you didn't do anything last week because you are doing it this week, or who knows, you're not even doing it this week. And you're going to catch some flack. And so we just want to talk a little bit today, not spicy, no hot takes, none of that good stuff, but we do want to dig into some statistics that they shared in that Lifeway Research study, where most pastors, just over 50%, 56%, say that it is important to incorporate some level of patriotic elements into their worship services the week of July 4th to celebrate America, including 27% who strongly believe that we should. This was done among 1,000 U.S. Protestant pastors, and 2 in 5 pastors disagree and say it is not important to do so, and 2% say, I don't know. And so this does note a small decrease from a 2016 research study where 61% said such worship service elements were important. Now, this didn't really dig into, is the entire worship service patriotic, where you kick it off with the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star Spangled Banner, and then you go through the entire God and Country section of the 1991 Baptist hymnal and have a patriotic sermon and all of that kind of stuff. We're not really digging into that, but some level of some patriotic elements in a worship service, down from 61% to 56%. Kyle, why do you think that is, and why is it that young pastors hate America? Not that. I said there'd be no hot takes. So,
Yeah.
why do you think there's been a decrease? Do you think there's a reason there's a decrease?
I think it has nothing to do with hating America. Let me put that on the table. I think there has been a refocus of what a corporate worship gathering is and what it is not.
Yeah.
And so, I am not against patriotic celebrations. I just don't know that those have a place in a gathering of the local church where we are said to be turning our attention towards God. Now, thanking God for our country, absolutely. Thanking Him for the freedoms that He's given to us, sure. Having 1,776 flags on your stage and an indoor fireworks display. Right. So I think that's the biggest reason. I think there's just been a kind of a refocus and folks asking questions about what the gathering of the local church is for. And then what's not covered here, as far as I've seen, I would be interested to see how many of these churches have something, a picnic, a potluck, something like that, and do kind of a patriotic thing afterwards. But yeah, in the primary worship gathering, I think that's why, because there's just been a refocusing on what it means to worship God and what is and is not appropriate in that time.
Yeah. And I know that, we've talked prior about our time in Mayhill, one of my first Sundays being Memorial Day, and I did not know that church was used to having all of the above. The entire, from call to worship to the very closing prayer, was going to be patriotic. And the sermon, all of the music, pledges, all of that, from beginning to end. Nobody told this brand new pastor that, and so I found out very quickly that I had done messed up. And so one of the things we focused on there, since I'd kind of already ripped the Band-Aid out, was, hey, all of our worship services are going to center around preaching, praying, and praising. And so it is going to be worship of Christ through our singing, through our praying, through the preaching of the word. And at no point during the actual worship gathering was it really going to be confused who was the main event, whether that was Mama's on Mother's Day, Daddy's on Father's Day, or any of these holidays, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, all of that kind of stuff. And so, here at Plymouth Park Baptist Church, there have certainly been patriotic elements in the worship services over the years, usually the Armed Forces song, maybe the national anthem. One of the things that in my 40th year of life and 25th year of ministry that I've kind of landed on is really not anything goes prior to the call to worship or after the service, but anything prior to the call to worship or after our service. Hey, let's try it. Do the national anthem, do America the Beautiful, do Salute to the Armed Forces, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
before the call to worship, and then let's read some scripture and say, now we're going to
Yeah.
worship Christ and preach Christ and Him crucified. Now, doing that, of course, with elements throughout where the freedom that we have to do exactly that is because of brave men and women that fought for our freedom to worship
Right.
without fear and all of that. And so I usually make those kind of notes when I'm preaching or maybe during the prayer time, that sort of thing. And so, of course, this year, like I mentioned earlier, God bless pastors because July 4th fell on Thursday. And so, if you didn't do anything before, there's a whole lot of pressure after,
Yeah.
should you do it before? Should it be after? Should you do both? Whatever it might be. And so last week, kind of to cover all of the bases, we did America the Beautiful during the fellowship time, like the meet and greet time. And then this coming week, we are doing a Blue Jeans and Bluebell worship service where we have kind of a country and western worship set,
Nice.
music set. And then Cadence, our oldest daughter, is going to play the national anthem on the flute. And we'll have like a video, I think it's from the Skit Guys on Independence Day
Okay.
to kick off the service. Then we'll do the call to worship. And I have a few notes in my sermon really about the cost that those signers paid to sign that Declaration of Independence.
Mm.
I think 56, 54, 56 of them, all of them really suffered for that in wild ways. And so we talked about that. There is a cost when you really believe in something, and we're grateful for what they did and ultimately those that fought to defend it over the years. But kind of back to some of the stats, pastors with no college degree, 70%, or just a bachelor's degree, 67% are more likely to see Element celebrating America. And then those with master's degrees are at 46% or doctoral degrees at 50%. And so if you are very passionate about this, don't hire a pastor with a doctorate or a master's, so no, also digging into a little bit of some of the denominational differences, Pentecostal pastors are at 77%. And then non-denominational churches, those are obviously Baptists with nice websites, are more likely at 70% to have patriotic elements than Methodists at 52%, Lutherans at 48%, or the Frozen Chosen, the Presbyterian and Reformed churches of 44%. And then whatever the Restorationist movement is, they're at 29%. They're holding down the bottom, baby. But if you're good with tongues, go for the Pentecostal church, baby.
Yeah.
Then
Here's one that I thought was really interesting, kind of towards the end of this, and this is a serious thing. So 2 in 5 pastors, so that's almost 40%, say that their congregation's love for America sometimes seems greater than their love for God. That is that seems significant. That seems like something we need to discuss. So now we're not talking a majority. In fact, we're 60%, 59% disagreed. 3% said they weren't really sure. They're not sure where their congregation's love really lies. But
we'll find out this week.
38% agree that their congregation's love for America sometimes seems greater than their love for God. So maybe somebody's listening to this and that pastor is absolutely in that 40% and he's like, yep, that's my church. Matt, how would you counsel that pastor?
Love them.
Yeah.
Listen to them. Maybe hear. Why? Because sometimes it's maybe how we view it. We view that it is a kind of a separation thing. Whereas sometimes that older generation, those that lived through a lot of this and kind of have seen the hand of God on this country over the years, it's not so much that they love America more than God. It's that it's almost like this interchangeable thing. It's one in the same. And if you talk to them, it's interesting if you'll actually just listen to them. And sometimes you can, encourage them to think a little outside of the box while not saying you don't like this country or anything like that, because both you and I love this country. We're grateful for this country and love the freedoms that we have. And we want to honor veterans and honor, the freedom, honor those that have lost their lives, all of that kind of stuff. But I think sometimes we maybe read into their patriotism a little more than what truly is there. Now, that's not always the case, man. Sometimes you've got some that they might even tell you. they might
Yep.
even say it.
I'm an
But
American Christian, and those words
and
are in there in
I'm
that order.
American Christian, born in the U.S. of
Oh
A.
my gosh.
Remember that song?
Try not
So
to.
we're singing that on Sunday. Just kidding. But yeah, I think just listen to them, love them, hear their story, maybe hear why, that kind of a thing. Because I just, the more I talk with some that maybe I in the past thought that, I find out that it's not as much of a separation type thing. It's a weird kind of, they just, it's really a one and the same type deal. And I don't always understand it. I don't always get it, and whatnot. But I've had a greater
Yeah.
appreciation and understanding of that. A few other notes from the stats. Most pastors say the 4th of July changes involve honoring veterans or their families.
Mhm.
Maybe they have veterans stand up. So maybe the entire service is not patriotic, but they do have maybe during the greeting or a prayer time, hey, if you're a veteran, please stand, or if you're the spouse of a veteran, please stand. We just want to thank you, and you applause, that sort of a thing. There's obviously some special music that's at 58%. And let's see, recognize families who have lost loved ones in service to our country, 54. One of the things about Independence Day is it can really be a lot of things, because you have Veterans Day that's just for the veterans. You have Memorial Day that's just for those that have lost their lives in service to the country. Independence Day, we really kind of bring all of that together in the freedom we have to worship. And so, hey, celebrate them, thank them. I know at first Farmersville, when we came in, we were given those little bitty army men, the little plastic little army men.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about? I wanted to call them GI Joe, but it's definitely not GI Joes. But the
No.
little plastic army
Yeah.
men, we'd get those, and the lady, or actually a couple that did it, would talk about them being a reminder just to pray for our troops. What I did is I played with them during Bart's sermon, and was having battles in the back pew. But anyway, let's see a few final notes. What changes to worship services are we likely to see on July 4th or Sundays before or after? 59% will recognize those currently serving. 58 will have some special music. 56% will recognize living veterans. Let's see, 54% will recognize families who have lost loved ones. I was mentioning how this ties a lot of those together. 30% will include other special ceremonies that will honor America. These might be those that have like FBI agents falling down from the sky and fireworks going off and whatnot. 14% make other changes to the service, while 15% will have a service no different than any other week. Kyle, before we wind down, what's kind of some final thoughts that you have?
Yeah. So in most cases, especially if you are fairly new to your church, I would say that patriotic services are not a hill to die on.
No.
This is not worth losing your job over, right? So, for the last 40 years, your church has had a patriotic service every year, maybe Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans. If that's all in,
Flag Day.
that's not something you're going to change year one and keep your job. And quite honestly, it's not worth it. Right now, what I would say is that if that's a priority that you have to move away kind of from more extravagant patriotic displays, you do that over time. Don't go in and just wipe it all clean, because you will lose your job in a hurry.
Yeah.
And then secondly, rather than if you're going into a church and you're concerned about what that is, ask about that like in the interview process. Don't get in and then do what Matt did and realize that you have made a big mistake by not doing something they are very used to. And yeah, like Matt said, most of all, man, love your folks through this. If somebody's upset because you celebrated too much or too little, man, just love them through it and shepherd them through this.
I want to give a third. If you are making some of these changes, this isn't the time to pull out the bully pulpit and just tell them how wrong they are and a bunch of idol worshipers and all of that kind of stuff, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves and whatnot. This is going to be a patient, steady change over time, and I think you can show perhaps a better way and so forth. And that's one of the things that we were able to pull off with Mayhill is we honored the country during the service in a little more muted way, while also having kind of a full tilt patriotic celebration after the service with VFW and everything else. And so for us and our context there, that was the better way. For you, there might be a better way. And but think through that, take your time to do that, get buy-in from people over time to do so, and don't ever, and really for anything, don't ever use that pulpit just to bully people and just tell them how terrible they are and how much better you are and you have the power and all of that stuff. And so don't do that. And and we hope that you have a wonderful July 4th weekend and enjoy time with your friends and family, fireworks, that you keep all of your fingers and toes and everything else that you need to move forward in this wonderful season of ministry where it is nice and cool outside all the time. And we're so grateful for air conditioning in Texas because the last statement was a lie. Kyle, send us out.
Hey, thanks for listening. And until next time, may your coffee be as black as night and as bold as the gospel you declare.
What's wrong with you people?